And welcome back to my channel. My name is Nova, and today we're going to be going over the best ways to possibly deal damage when talking about Destiny 2. So first, let's just get this out of the way. Let's understand what damage over time and what burst damage is calculated as within Destiny 2. So burst damage is a little harder to figure out because there are a lot of weapons in Destiny 2 that hit hard but also have magazines added to it. So when we're talking about how hard it is to calculate if a weapon is burst or dot damage, Whisper is the number one contender for this because Whisper does a massive amount of damage. However, it has a 3-round magazine attached to it, which means it is in fact a damage over time weapon because not all of its damage is released in one shot. All of its damage is released in the magazine of 3 rounds, which means you need to take the collective amount of damage done between all 3 rounds divided by how fast you can release the magazine, and that gives you its DPS per second. So what actually is a burst damage weapon? Well, a burst damage weapon is a weapon where you pull the trigger once, and when all of the projectiles land on said target, it deals it all in one spot at the same time, and then you reload your magazine. That is a burst weapon. So the perfect example of that would obviously be the Two-Tailed Fox. The Two-Tailed Fox is the king of burst damage in my personal opinion because you get 2 rockets for the price of 1. And not only does it benefit from having that, but it suppresses, it sets the target on fire, and it benefits from multiple different buffs within the game. Easily the king of burst damage. But what is the king of dot damage? Well, Whisper of the Worm and Thunderlord. They both share the number 1 spot. Whisper of the Worm is extremely good when we're talking about ranged damage over time. Thunderlord is stupid good when you're talking about mid to close range damage over time. Now, how exactly would you calculate damage over time? Well, courtesy of Error's video, link is in the description if you decide you want to actually go and watch this video, we have the calculated damage for Thunderlord. So, to make this extremely easy, Thunderlord deals 515 damage per crit within 62 rounds of the magazine. In addition to that, the magazine for Thunderlord also rains down lightning depending on if you've hit the target with the rounds, obviously, a multiple number of times to have the lightning proc. When the lightning procs, which is a guaranteed 5 times within one magazine of 62 rounds, it deals 1080 damage per shot. So we're going to take our 515 and we're going to multiply that times 62, which gives us 31,930. We are then going to take our 1080 and multiply that times 62, which then gives us, times it times 5, which then gives us 5,400. We're going to add that to the total of the 31,930, which gives us 37,330. So that's 37,330 damage the Thunderlord can do collectively in 62 rounds of one magazine. Now, in order to calculate its damage per second, you need to take the total number, which is 37,330 damage, and you need to divide that by the time that it takes to empty the magazine. Courtesy of Error, we know that that is 6.7 seconds. So what we're going to do is take our total of 37,330 and we're going to divide that by 6.7, which collectively gives us 5,571.6, which can be rounded up to 5,572 damage per second. So that is how you calculate if a weapon is damage over time or burst damage. Now, where are the best instances to use these weapons? Now, you don't exactly need to use these weapons. However, if you want to deal the most amount of damage, depending on if you decide you want to deal dot damage or you want to deal burst damage, these are the weapons to do it with. Now, other candidates are the Sleeper Simulant, obviously, the Wardcliff Coil, of course, and the Ikelos Shotgun. Everything else is literally just for fun. If you feel like you want to use it, that's what you do. But if you want to be the max DPS possible, then it's Ikelos with either Two-Tailed Fox, Thunderlord, Whisper of the Worm, Wardcliff Coil, Sleeper, Simulant, or Prospector 2. Oh, and 1,000 Voices. Now, what weapons should you be using on what boss? That is the question that we're here to answer today. So there are two factors that go into this. Does the boss have an immunity phase, or does it have an add phase? If a boss has an immunity phase, burst weapons all the way. Why, might you ask? Well, it's because burst weapons have the potential to actually deal damage past the cap of the immunity phase. So a prime example of that is the Hollowed Lair, the Fanatic. When you get to the Fanatic and you deal a certain amount of damage, he goes into an immunity phase where he then adds. If you're going in there, then you're going to be using Two-Tailed Fox. You can obviously use Thunderlord because you can stagger him, and Thunderlord is a good ad clearing weapon. However, if you want to deal as most damage as possible, then you're going to be using Two-Tailed Fox. This is just if you're going off for pure damage. This is if you don't care about dealing with the ads. This is if you have supers to deal with ads. This is if you don't want to use the Thunderlord for fun. This is if you're going in there on a serious run, you're farming for that Mindbender's ambition, and you just want to get in and get out. You grab your Two-Tailed Fox and you go to town. Now, can I maximize the damage of each magazine? Yes, you can. How do I do that? Well, courtesy of the Bungie devs, we now have debuffs and buffs. So, let's go over some of those, why don't we? First, we have Tractor Cannon. Obviously a great shotgun, if you consider it a shotgun sometimes. Sometimes I just consider it a hot air gun that just blows people off the map. But what exactly does Tractor Cannon do for us? Well, if you look at it this way, then it would be pretty terrible, because obviously one of your teammates needs to give up their exotic slot to run Tractor Cannon. However, when they run Tractor Cannon, they are not only buffing their damage, but they're buffing yours, and they still have a way to deal damage. I'm actually going to explain that right now. So, what is this that I'm talking about? Well, when you run Tractor Cannon and you shoot the target with the Tractor Cannon, obviously it does its initial damage. Okay, let's say it's about 2,500 damage, but that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is the debuff that it puts on the target. What happens when you shoot a target with the Tractor Cannon is that any void weapon that hits that target after you have hit them with that Tractor Cannon deals 50% more damage to that target. So when you pair a Tractor Cannon with a Two-Tailed Fox, this is where it gets really good. The Two-Tailed Fox is a void based weapon, which means that the first rocket to fire out of the two rockets that fire is void. So when you actually hit that target, the void rocket is going to hit 50% harder than its counterpart, the solar rocket. However, the Tractor Cannon also increases all other elemental damage taken by 33%, which means all arc weapons and all solar weapons have a 33% damage increase against that target. So once your teammate shoots the Fanatic or the Inverted Spire Boss or Riven with a Tractor Cannon, the Two-Tailed Fox will collectively have an 83% damage bonus against that target, because the solar rocket takes 33% more damage and the void rocket takes 50%. But we're not done yet. Why? Because we have access to Warlocks, and guess what Warlocks have access to? Lunafaction boots and a Well of Radiance. In case you did not know, the Well of Radiance increases your personal base damage done by 33%. Well, why is that good? Well, that's obviously because it also stacks with debuffs. So, as of right now, what are we looking at here? We're looking at the 50% bonus damage that we get from the Void Rockets. We're looking at the 33 that we get from the Solar Rocket. So as a total, right now we're already just dealing 83% more damage towards that target if it has been hit with a Tractor Cannon and we're using Two-Tailed Fox. But if our teammate decides to throw a Well of Radiance down, well, now we're adding another 33% onto that. So as a total, we're dealing 116% more damage to the Fnatic with a tractor cannon and a well of radiance. Why would you not want to do that? You want to try to explain to me why? Because it sounds like bread and butter to me. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like I went in there and whooped the Fnatic and got my Mindbender's ambition. Oh, wait. Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, let me show it to you. It's right over here. Would you looky there? I got one. And you want to know how I got one? Because I used my two-tailed fox and my Ikelos. Now, that's obviously burst damage versus sustained dot damage, how to calculate your damage over time, and how to determine what you want to use and when you want to use it. Now, what we're actually going to go over is what are the best supers to use against bosses. But we're not going to do that in this video because I don't want this video to be too long. We will be doing that in the next video. So thanks for sitting here and crunching numbers with me today. My name again has been Nova, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.